Hello and welcome to Handwritten Wines. My name is Bill Miller. I'm the tasting room manager here at Handwritten, and I'm so excited I get to host you today for our virtual tasting. I don't know if you've ever visited Handwritten. We're pretty small. We only do about 2,000 cases a year. We do no distribution, no wine shops, no restaurants. Such small production that we keep everything in-house, and you can only get our wines by visiting our tasting room or coming to our wine shop online or our partnership with the Bardessono Hotel. So with this little kit that you're getting, we're gonna get some of our 2012 Oak Knoll Cab, we're gonna have our 2012 Stag Leap Cab, and then we're gonna have our 2012 Calistoga Cab. I have all three of these wines pre-poured, waiting for us to geek out, and we're gonna have some fun. We're so excited to partner up with the Bardessono Hotel. Not only are you getting these three wonderful Cabernets, but you're also getting the ODE Ritual Wellness Kit from Beast Ball at the Bardessono. We are big fans of the Bardessono, and just like them being a LEED certified business, so are we. We are sitting here in our brand new taste room that we just opened January 2nd, 2020. In fact, this whole entire building is wrapped in old reclaimed redwood vats, over 100 years old, these vats. So when we put this redwood up on the outside, we could actually smell the wine still left in these the wood of these vats. It was really, really cool. We're a green company just as the Bardessono. We do recycling, we do composting, we do as much reclaimed products as possible within our tasting room. And basically what we're gonna do is just gonna geek out. So 2009, that's when Handwritten started. Our owners started Handwritten after they purchased my sister winery, Jessup Cellars, in 2004. So Jessup is all the way up in No-Yo. We're all the way down in So-Yo. The Bardessono is about mid-Yo. So now you're caught up on the local lingo here. There is a true thing, North Yountville and South Yountville. And that's how we talk about our little beautiful town of Yountville. So what we're gonna do is start tasting some wines. I'm gonna talk through each one of these, and then I'm gonna stop and let you kind of geek out, and then you can restart the video, and we'll keep going with each and every one of those wines. So Handwritten, each one of these wines is coming from 2 acres mountain hillside fruit. Our winemaker is a gentleman named Rob Lloyd, and Rob actually starts his wine career at a place called UC Irvine, all the way in Southern California, and gets his first degree in finance. Then he comes up to the Napa Valley and works at this place called Stag Leap Wine Cellars for a hot second and realizes that he loves wine. He goes back, gets his second degree from UC Davis, not too far from here, in enology, winemaking. Then he goes and gets a third degree, a master's in growing grapes, viticulture. So Rob Lloyd has 3 degrees, and he really uses all of those degrees to make our wines here at Handwritten. So with that said, we're gonna just taste these 3 Cabernets that are farmed by Rob. He helps to manage these vineyards. He makes these wines. And at Handwritten, what we're all about is showing off the Napa Valley through Cabernet. I don't know if you know, but we have 60 microclimates, 60 microclimates here in the Napa Valley. We have 16 different soil types out of 32 on Earth. So we have half the soil types found on Earth here in the Napa Valley. And then we have all these subsoils that have mixed together. So we're into the hundreds of soils here in the valley. So when our owners started Handwritten, they really wanted to show off how each of these districts is so unique to each and every one of these wines. They all have their own microclimates. They all have their own soils, and they're gonna change the flavor, texture, and aroma. So whether it's Oak Knoll or Stag Leap or Calistoga, each of these wines are gonna have their own unique expression, much like we all have our own unique expression through our handwriting. So like we have our own expression, these wines have their own expression, and that's part of the reason we are called Handwritten Wines. So each one of these cabs, they're all coming from the 2012 vintage. They're all 100% Cabernet. So here at Handwritten, we do not blend anything into our cabs. It really gives us that opportunity to show off how soils and temperatures really affect the flavors, textures, and aromas of wine. They're all farmed by Rob. They're all mountain hillside fruit, all different 2 acres. So it's all about location, location, location. They're all 22 months in the barrels. They're all 70% new French oak and 30% neutral French oak. So what we're gonna do is have a few sips of the first one, geek out on it, and just kind of go through each one of these wines and see what works for you. All right, so are we ready? We're gonna do the 2012 Oak Knoll Cab. And a couple little things. You may know this, you may not, but this is kind of a nice little tip. You know, first sip, we're never gonna count. Our first sip's gonna fight what's ever on our palate from before. Do we just brush our teeth? Did we just drink some coffee? Do we pop a mint? Am I drinking maybe a wine that has a little bit more acid and I'm going to a red wine which has more tannin? So acid's gonna make your palate kind of salivate. Tannin is gonna actually strip that moisture out of your mouth and give you kind of that drying effect. So if you go for something with a little bit more acidity to a tannic wine, there's a little bit of a fight on the palate. So first sip, we're not gonna count. Our second sip is going to be a little bit more of the true flavor. Our third sip is really our yay or our nay. And this is the way we work as humans. So if you've ever had the opportunity to brush your teeth and drink a glass of orange juice, all right, you made the face. I know you did it. So that first sip is quite horrific, you know, but we go for that second sip, we're like, okay, it's a little bit better. We go for that third sip, we're like, yeah, we've readjusted our palate. So it translates in the wine world. So 3 sips is really what you want to do before you make that deciding factor on your wine. That is a really important thing, and it's kind of one of those little game changers in wine. You will appreciate this little tip. So let's get started. I have a little map I'm going to be using for us, kind of a Napa Valley, a little topographical, super fun, right? All right, so let's do a little Napa Valley 101 just for fun. All right, we are 36 miles long from top to bottom. We grow grapes to about 32 miles. This other little 4 miles is all residential down here in American Canyon. We are set between 2 mountain ranges. Most important, we're right here in Yountville. We're right in the middle. So we're set between these 2 mountain ranges. This mountain range that's back behind me is called the Mayacamas, or Mayakama, tomato, tomato, potato, potato. We all say it in our different way. But this was a mountain range that was old seafloor bed that got pushed up by a fault line. So we have a fault line that goes from all the way from Benicia all the way up and pushed up that mountain range. And then if you drop over, you drop into Sonoma Valley, another great region for growing grapes. Now, this mountain range that I'm actually facing is going to be called the Vaca Mountain Range. Built by Mount St. Helena, we have Mount George down here. This is more of a volcanic mountain range. So 2 different mountain ranges built in 2 different ways is going to give us all these different soil types and also these different temperatures. So we have something called the San Francisco Bay down there, and it can literally be about 72 down there. It could be 102 up there. We have 60 microclimates throughout this Napa Valley. So this is the fun of doing our tasting. We're gonna see how soils and temperatures actually change the flavors, textures, and aromas of wine. So with that, let's dive into the first wine. We're gonna do the 2012 Oak Knoll Cab. So this is coming from the Oak Knoll district. I'll show you on the map in just a moment. And this is 100% Cabernet. It is 22 months in the barrels. It is 70% new French oak and 30% neutral French oak. And we're gonna give this a little try. So we're gonna do that first sip. Let's kind of readjust our palate. So cheers. All right. So little thing. You see us spinning our glass. So a couple things that affect wine are temperature, light, and oxygen. So by actually spinning our glass around, we're putting some oxygen into the wine. Oxygen is gonna be kind of it's gonna break the wine down, and it's gonna create a longer tannin chain, which is gonna make the tannin smoother on the palate. So less of that kind of grip and drying effect. It should be a little bit more smooth. That's what oxygen does, and that's what happens with bottle age. As oxygen goes through a cork, slowly over time, the tannin chain gets longer, and that gets a little softer on the palate. So that's an important thing. But the other reason I spin wine, because 75 to 80% of wine tasting is smell. So it is so important to smell our wine. And our nose is really hardwired into our brain, and we still smell it even when it's on our palate. So with the crystal glass, we never want to go up to here. Okay, here's the caveat. So if it's a wine I know and I'm watching a movie and I don't want to get my butt up off the couch and I just want to fill that up, and I'm going to fill it up. But the rule of thumb is if I fill it up, I lose the aromas. 75 to 80% of wine tasting is smell. So by going to no further past the whitest part in the bowl, if I do that, if I go past the whitest part in the bowl, I actually start to lose those aromas, and that's what a crystal glass does. It really helps to give off those aromas of the wine. So part of the reason we spin the glass is to release aromas and to get a better smell. And I'm gonna give you a little tip here. So you can break some wine down within a glass. So here we go. Bottom of your glass, That's your alcohol. If you go to the top of your glass, that's more your cherries and berries and fruit flavors. And then if you hold the glass by the foot and you put your nose right in the center, I don't want your glass tilted, I want it kind of flat, right in the center, that encompasses the oak. So in the wine world, a lot of us will go to the very bottom of the glass and smell our wine. So if you go to the bottom of the glass and your first introduction is alcohol, it's not the best introduction. So by placing your nose just a little further up, depending on the size of our nose, we're going to put the bridge of our nose on the top of our glass, and that should put our nose right in the center of the glass. That encompasses the fruits, the berries, the oak, and the alcohol. So that gives us a better aroma expression of this particular wine. All right, so we did sip 1. Let's go for sip 2. All right. Can feel a little grip, a little bit here. It's kind of the tannin. There's some nice tannin structure going on. Let me show you where Oak Knoll is. So Oak Knoll is just south of the town of Yountville. So we're here in Yountville, and Oak Knoll is just south of us. Oak Knoll is mostly valley floor fruit. We have one of the only mountainside vineyards. This is coming from the Rossi vineyard. So what happens is this is going up on the hillside. It's technically at the base of Mount Veeder, but we get morning sun over there. So as the sun gently warms these grapes in the morning, this beautiful shadow starts to happen as the sun goes over the Mayakama mountain range. But this beautiful shadow is a gentle ripening of these particular grapes. So with that gentle ripening, it's gonna have a nice long hang time, give a little bit of acidity, but some of those dark berry fruits as well. So let's give our little third smell and third sip. Okay, so for me, now here's the thing about wine. We all get something a little bit different. I'm gonna say that I get a little bit of blackberries. If you've never had a blackberry in your life, that would never be your descriptor. So in the wine world, we definitely get a little geeky. We love to chat about wine, but if you don't get what we're saying, it is okay. A lot of it is training the brain, so you're always remembering those smells, and it is something we do all the time. It's fun, but we do definitely get geeky. So we're all gonna smell something a little bit different. So for the Oak Knoll, I get some warm spices. I get like that cigar box. It kind of reminds me when I was a little boy and my dad would go to the tobacco shop and we'd walk into the room where all the cigars were. I get a little bit of that cigar box smell in there. Not tobacco, there's a little different smell for me. And part of the smell in this wine world is your own life experiences. And like I said, being a little boy, my dad would go into the tobacco shop, and there's definitely some smells that remind me of that. It's nice and well balanced. It has some tannin structure still, has a little bit of acidity. So tannin, what I'm feeling is it's binding with that protein in my saliva and stripping that moisture out. So I'm just getting some grip back here. I'm getting a little grip up here. This is a wine I'm gonna want some fatty steak. I want some food to go with this. So the rule of thumb is the more fatty food I have, it actually coats my palate. The more tannic wine I have, it actually strips the moisture out. So fat and tannin are a match made in heaven. I have a little bite of my fatty food, then I have a little sip of my tannic wine, and it kind of keeps resetting my palate, so I'm able to enjoy my fatty food, that ribeye or whatever kind of yummy steak I'm gonna eat, or whatever fat I'm gonna put in some cheeses. Oh, I love it all. So all that is gonna balance out by having a little bit of fat, a little bit of tannic wine, and it keeps balancing out on the palate. And that's kind of how we balance, or how we pair our wines, is the more fat I'm gonna eat, the more tannic wine I want. So Pinot Noir, lighter skinned, thinner wines. I'm going lighter meats, salmon, steelhead trout, pork tenderloin, your Thanksgiving meal. And you know, here's the thing, it's your wine, your food, and your palate. You can do whatever the heck you want, but that's part of the fun of this wine world. All right, so this is the 2012 Oak Knoll Cab, and it is 100% Cab, 22 months in the barrels, 70% new French oak, and 30% neutral French oak on this particular one. And I'm gonna let you geek out for just a second. I'm gonna pause, and then we're gonna come back and do the 2012 Stag's Leap. So perfect time to pause. Cheers. All right, welcome back. 2012 Stag's Leap is the next on the lineup. So in our glass, I have our 2012. So Stag's Leap. So let's get some things kind of straight here. So some of you might be going, Stag's Leap, huh? Is it coming from the Stag's Leap winery? Is it coming from the Stag's Leap wine cellars? Well, it's actually coming from the Stag's Leap district. So Stag's Leap is one of the American viticultural areas, AVAs, appellations, or districts here in the Napa Valley. We have 16 different AVAs. So within Stag's Leap district is Stag's Leap wine cellars and Stag's Leap winery. And one is S apostrophe and one is apostrophe S. So S apostrophe is Stag's Leap winery and Stag's Leap wine cellars is apostrophe S. And basically, there was a little lawsuit that went on, and after about 4 years of being in the court, that's how the judge ruled, is where the placement of the apostrophe. So Stag's Leap District has no apostrophes, but Stag's Leap Wine Cellars and Stag's Leap Winery has apostrophes. And so hopefully that clears up a little confusion. So check it out. So we were just over here in Knoll on the other side of the mountain, on the Mayacamas mountain range. Now we're going over to Stag's Leap, which is our smallest little district here in the valley, and that's going to be on the Vaca mountain range. So lots of volcanic soil going on, red, rocky, pebbly soil. This is getting all hot afternoon sun, and so those rocky, pebbly soils, they're taking that heat from the afternoon, and that heat's going into those rocks, and it's going to radiate heat back to the canopy at night and down into the roots as well. So it adds a little more stress to the vines, creates a little more struggle, so it creates a little smaller berry, which is going to change the flavor profile, a little bit more silky tannin. So once again, this is another cab at 100% Cabernet. It is coming from the Stag's Leap District 2012 vintage. It's coming from 2 acres, about 1,000 feet up off the valley floor from the white vineyard. And this is gonna have a little different nuance based on where it's grown. 22 months in the barrel, 70% new oak and 30% neutral French oak. So let's go ahead and give this a try. We're gonna have that first sip. Let's do our readjustment. Okay. Let's get that little wine to smell. And if you want, break it down. Go to the bottom. Go to the top. Go to the center. It's kind of what we do. Kind of helps to really hone in and get some of those wonderful nuances of this particular wine. So Stag's Leap. You notice I'm chewing? So that's not what happens in the wine world too. Is sometimes by chewing, we're kind of rubbing the roof of our mouth with our tongue. It's kind of pushing some of those aromas back into our nasal passage, but it really helps to kind of identify some of those flavors and smells that we're getting. If you've ever had food and you're like, what's that flavor I'm getting? You kind of start chewing. You don't even know you're doing it, and that's part of what helps to bring out some of those aromas and flavors. And once again, 75 to 80% of wine tasting is smell. Our nose is really hardwired into our brain. Okay, let's go for that second smell, second sip. Hey, also, want to let you know, this is unfiltered, so you may see some little particles on the side of the glass. Do not fret. 2012, Rob did a lot of our wines unfiltered, and that was just a choice that he decided to do. I love it. Sometimes when you do a lot of filtration, you strip out textures and aromas. So we're just kind of leaving this a little bit more a la naturel. These wines, as I mentioned, are just small production. These are handcrafted. Rob takes a lot of love, Rob Lloyd, when he makes these wines. All right, second sip, second smell. All right. I'm getting these baking spices. I get some dark cherries, dark chocolate. I get this nice silky tannin. This is a wine I want with like a charcuterie board. Oh, yum. Duck confit would be great. Lamb would be a beautiful pairing. I could do this with a steak. I could just pair this with a glass. Let's call it a day. You know, maybe 1 glass, 2 glasses, maybe 3 glasses, maybe 4. Who's counting, right? So that's a Stag's Leap. Did you ever just drink wine and it just makes you make noises? You just have no control? That's what's happening right now. That's always an indicator that I love this wine. So 3 sips, thumbs up. 2012 Stag's Leap Cab, 100% Cab. 22 months in the barrels, 70% new French oak, 30% neutral French oak, and farmed by Rob, made by Rob Lloyd, our winemaker, and just another delicious wine. So another Cabernet that we produce here at Handwritten. So with that, we're gonna put you on pause, or you're gonna put me on pause, and we're gonna come back and do the 2012 Calistoga Cab when you're ready. All right, pause. All right, welcome back. We're going 2012 Calistoga. So we're going the top of the valley. Let's get out our handy dandy map. So we were down here in Knoll, then we went over here to Stag's Leap. Now we're going all the way up to the top of the valley in Calistoga. So Calistoga is gonna be hot, hot, hot. Of all of our cabs, this is gonna be the first to ripen, usually more at the beginning of September. So we're talking high 90s, low hundreds. Stag's Leap, we're talking 88, 92 degrees. I would say over in Knoll, we're probably gonna be more like 84, 88 degrees. So different temperatures are gonna create different aromas, different texture, and different flavors for these wines. So going up on Calistoga, we're going all the way up to the heat of the valley. It's gonna be on some volcanic soil up there. And let's give this a try. So this is also 100% Cabernet, 2012, 22 months in the barrels. 70% new French oak and 30% neutral French oak, farmed by Rob, made by Rob, and little 2 acres up on the hillside. And I'm gonna do one little stop. So barrels. So think of your new barrels as your spice jar in the wine world. New barrels are gonna kind of add your spice descriptors like vanilla, cinnamon, clove, cola, nutmeg, allspice, molasses, pepper. So that's how I kind of think of when I smell and taste aromas that are spice descriptors. I kind of know those are coming out of the barrels. When I taste cherries and berries and fruit flavors, those are typically actually coming out of the grapes from the vineyards. So new barrels are your spice jar in the wine world. Once we are done with a new barrel, we sterilize it, push it aside to the following season, and then it's going to become a neutral barrel. So if you could imagine wearing a silk glove and you're kind of polishing the wine, smoothing it out, rounding it out, balancing it, that's what a neutral barrel does. So neutral barrel is not going to impart any flavor, where a new barrel is going to really have some flavor that's going to be added into the wine, those spice descriptors. So think of that. So let's do easy math too. I didn't know we were gonna do math today, but here we go. So let's say we have 10 barrels. I have 7 brand new French oak barrels. That's my 70%. After I do fermentation in my stainless steel tank, I move it over to the 70% new oak to age. I have 3 neutral barrels from the years previous, or the year previous, and I'm gonna put my wine in there. That's my 30%. So after the wine ages for 22 months, we're gonna blend it all together, and then it's gonna get poured into the bottle. And that's how we do the 70-30. So just a little tip for you. All right, 2012 Calistoga. Let's do some smell. Nice. Let's do a sip. I'm gonna readjust that palate. This is also an unfiltered wine. So we're gonna get some of those little particles on the side of the glass. Once again, never fret. So let's do this one more time. So on the nose, I get a little bit of red cherry. I get some like cocoa. I get this like leather component, maybe like just a little bit of a worn leather as opposed to new leather. That's what we do. I get a little bit of a floral, like a violet in there. I get cherry cola. That's something I just always kind of smell with this particular wine. Some a little bit of that minerality coming from that volcanic soil, and some like dark chocolate as well. And this is a wine I want with like barbecue. I want with ribs, a brisket, something that I have a little bit of fat. I get a little bit of more tannin on this. There is a tinge of acidity, but this is a wine that I want with food. That's what I'm going to say about that. So 2012 Calistoga Cab. Built just the same as the Oak Knoll and the Stag's Leap, and hopefully you get some different nuances, a little different aromas. Maybe you found a favorite. You know, here's the thing, I would happily drink any one of these wines, but we do want you to have a favorite. That's kind of the fun of it. We'd love for you to come do a tasting with us. If you need any more information, go to our website at handwrittenwines.com. You can reach out to us and we'd be happy to answer those questions. We have a live chat on our website. We have a great wine club that you can sign up and get our wines. Like, once again, you can't get our wines anywhere, so you have to kind of know about us to know about us. These are wines that none of your friends or your colleagues will probably ever have, but we'll stand up to any of these big names in the Napa Valley, and that's part of the fun of it. So I just want to say thank you. I appreciate your time. I appreciate you tasting these wines with us. I really hope you get to come in and see us. And remember to book your hotel at the Bardessono. You get a special little discount, which is always very special. And be healthy, be well, and I just want to say a big cheers, and we really appreciate you. Thank you so much. Cheers to you.